I'm Lee Mauney. I moved to Cary in 1961 when this school was built. And one of the little things about Cary High School, people in Cary were upset when this school was built because they thought it was too far out in the country. So that's one little item from my youth. But I went to Cary High School. I graduated in 1967. I played football, basketball, and track here. I came back, went to East Carolina, ran some track down there, coached in Eastern North Carolina for a year, and came back to Cary in 1972 and coached at Cary Elementary, coached football and basketball and track there. Stayed at Cary Elementary until it went to East Cary and was there until 78 and left there in 78 and went to Broughton, coached there for 7 years, and was fortunate enough to come back to Cary in 1985 where I coached football and track and have coached track at Cary High School since 1985. Still coach track, helped Jerry Dotson out. Quit coaching football when I took over as athletic director in 1990 and coached until, was athletic director until 2002 when I retired. Still in coaching track. Both my sons went to Cary. My oldest son was a wrestler here for 3 years on 3 of the state championship teams. State finisher, great athlete. My youngest son was on state championship soccer team here, played soccer, played on the basketball team, ran track here. Still resides in Cary. I still reside in Cary and have been active in Cary over the years. Was fortunate enough, drew the Cary Imp when I was in school. Still using the same Cary Imp logo. Been very fortunate to see the rise of Cary. When I went to Cary, it was a 2A school. We played Apex my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. My senior year, we moved from 2A ball to 3A ball, and of course, Apex didn't move up, but Cary and Garner did to 3A ball. And was very fortunate to play on some very good football teams during that time. I was a quarterback on those teams. We were very fortunate to have winning records. In fact, the 3 years I played, we only lost 4 football games. So we were very, very, very fortunate. Had a great football coach in Ed Lane, which the field's named after, and seen a lot of changes. Kirk Glendinning, who was athletic director after me, was grew up across the street from me. So he started as my trainer and was fortunate enough to be athletic director after I left. Continuation, I took over for Guy Mendenhall, who played basketball at Cary and was the athletic director before I took over. And we've had a lot of Cary blood in the athletic director and coaching over the years, and very fortunate to see that happen. It means a lot to me when people have a part of Cary in their blood, and seeing that growth and seeing that rivalry between Apex over the years in a lot of ways, in a lot of different sports. I can remember years when I was athletic director, the year we won the state championship, Apex had a very, very good basketball team. And we played them 3 times that year, 3 or 4 times, may have been, played them in the region. I can't remember right offhand, but they had a tremendous basketball team that year. We won the state championship. And this gym and their gym was packed every time we played. I mean, it's like Kurt said in several games, it was standing room only. You couldn't get another soul in here. So I've seen some great games over the years, football games, basketball games, wrestling championships. So been very fortunate to see that rivalry stay as it is. Saw it early on when Cary was a very small town, and I've seen it since, Cary and Apex were both 4A schools and surrounding 4A schools in Cary. So we were the only school in Cary at one time, and they were the only school in Apex, but that's changed over the years. So changed a lot.
What makes that rivalry so good?
I guess the being so close. I mean, it's similar to a lot of schools in North Carolina. Having been athletic director, I've had the privilege to talk to a lot of athletic directors and coaches over the years, and every school has a rivalry. And our two biggest rivalries were Apex and Garner. Garner being that they moved up with us when we were in thread ball, but when I played my sophomore and junior years, we played Apex. Apex was our biggest rivalry then, and as was Garner, but Apex has always been a close rivalry. Kids from Apex and Cary hung out together a lot to an extent and knew each other. And when you had that opportunity to play, it meant a lot of bragging rights for either school that won. So my son, of course, played here, and his wife was a cheerleader at Apex, and they both live in Cary now, but they both, when the schools play, they both pull for their school, even though they're married. So, I have that personal relationship, having that in the family. Wait.
I forgot what I was going to ask you next. The announcement got me. The Cary and Apex, from a football perspective, Cary has, over the course of the 100 years, pretty much dominated the series. I think they've won 51 is what we've discovered. And I think Apex is at 30.
Yeah.
Because we found. How does a rivalry survive when one school wins much more?
I think it was true early on, out of those 50 wins. I'm sure that was true early on, but in the last 20, I've been retired for over 20 years, but in the last 30 years, there's a lot of equity in both of those schools. I don't think Cary dominated as much as they did early on. I think it's pretty even. 1 year Cary might win, next year Apex might win. So, and over the years, especially the last 20 years, Cary and Apex, I've always thought should be in the same conference because they're so close to each other, have not. They've been in different conferences, and which I never have understood. But when you're in the same conference, that rivalry gets a little bit more intense. But it's still, that intensity is still there, whether they're not, because of the closeness of the two towns and two communities, and the interaction between the two communities.
I think people that are here today may not fully understand
that.
I mean, I grew up in Cary. I'm 35, so I've been here 35 years. But the Cary and Apex were both very small towns.
Yeah.
Especially when these two programs were getting started, right? Could that type of a rivalry exist if Cary and Apex were a bigger city back then, like a Raleigh? Like, did Cary and Broughton were not huge rivals?
No. Even Broughton and Enlope, because I coached at Broughton. Broughton, I mean, when I was in school, there were only a handful of 4A schools in the whole state of North Carolina. And Broughton used to have to travel great. I mean, they used to have to go to Wilmington, have to go to Greensboro, go to Winston-Salem, Durham. I mean, it wasn't like Broughton had close schools. So it was, as far as building up that rivalry, I don't know that Broughton never had that great rivalry. And, maybe with Durham at a time, but no. Being small communities in North Carolina have had those rivalries. And if you go really anywhere in the state, there's that town next to the one school, two schools real close together, they have that rivalry. And we were fortunate enough when I was going to school to have that rivalry. It was because of the closeness of the communities and because those communities were small. They weren't large communities like they are now. And people moving into Cary, nothing against them, but no, I don't think they didn't grow up. We grew up with that rivalry from the time I was in elementary school to middle school, junior high school then to high school. Now you have like in this community, you may have 10 different middle schools that these kids from Cary and Apex, kids in one middle school may go to Cary High School, and half the school go to Apex. Same thing with Athens Drive or some of the other communities. I know when I coached at East Cary, I had half those kids. I had a great track team one year in junior high, but half those kids went to Athens Drive when it opened, and the other half went to Cary High School, and they got split up. I mean, it really changed. The dynamics of it have really changed over the years.
When you were in high school, what was it like in the communities of Cary and Apex? I mean, like, I guess, did Crossroads exist? Like, was there a shopping center to go to?
When I was in school, actually the highway there, US 1 was being built. When I was a freshman, US 1 went straight through the middle of Cary. There was no bypass around. That was being built. So a lot of changes. I mean, it was country. I mean, there was a lot of country between. I mean, Scottish Hills wasn't even built when I was in school. That was all woods, and the eastern part of, and old Apex High School used to be on the other side of Apex, whereas the existing facility now was built in the late 60s, and then of course it was renovated, and they tore it down, built a whole new school. Unfortunately, Cary hasn't had that luxury, but Apex and some of the other schools have. So, but my little, knife in the.
You get to keep some of the character though. Like,
yeah, I mean, we have a great gym. I love this gym. I love aspects of it. We still have some of the original. This gym facility is still the existing gym. We have a couple buildings here. They're still the existing buildings. So that means a lot. This gym is I'm glad they renovated it when they did. They needed the renovations, but it's a first class gym. It's a first class high school gym.
Yeah, sure. So, when you think back to Cary and Apex, are there moments in that rivalry that like define that as a rivalry to you?
I just knew that my football coach, he was very adamant we had to beat Apex when we played football. Basketball. We kind of dominated. Of course, Charlie Adams was my basketball coach, and who later became the executive director of the high school association. So he has a lot of history there. He grew up in Cary, played ball at Cary, so there's a lot of history there, and like I said, he was my basketball coach, my junior high coach, and there was a lot of rivalry there. The rivalry between Cary and Apex from him kind of carried over to us. So, as I said, it was a small town then, and the people in Cary, they wanted to be, when you go to the barbershop, there's only one barbershop in Cary then. So when you go to the barbershop, everybody knew everybody, and they, they knew you played ball. And they made sure you understood when we play Apex, you got to beat them. So,
did your perspective on that rivalry change as you went from a student to returning as an adult, as a coach?
A little bit. Of course, over the years, you always want to beat Apex. I mean, I always, as a coach, I wanted to beat them. And there were years when they beat us. And, there, like I said, there was a lot more equity because they grew a little bit later than we grew a little bit faster, but after a while, we're the same size. They're 4A, we're 4A, and when I was coaching here and athletic director here, it was there was a lot more equity then when they were the same size. It made it a lot more equal, but it's still, to me, I'm 76, and I still go to that game. I still want to I want to beat Apex. When I'm sitting in the stands, they want to beat us, and I want to beat them. So we've had some great games over the years in different sports.
Before we started recording, I was telling you that my grandparents all went here to Cary High School, and then I went to Green Hope.
Yep.
How has the schools like Green Hope and Panther Creek and Green Level and Athens and Apex Friendship and Middle Creek and now Felton Grove, how has all of that impacted the community's grasp of this rivalry?
Well, it's changed a lot of things because when I grew up, I knew I was going to junior high and I knew I was going to high school. I mean, there was no question. And it's hard for people to understand, but when Cary High School, when I was in school, our boundaries went all the way out to 401, past Swift Creek, out to Highway 401, all the way over to where CarMax is, off 70, all of that Ebenezer Church Road, all of that, and all the way out to 64, Highway 64 here. So, all the way out to Holly Springs, almost. So we had a huge, but that shows you that there was not that many people in those areas because we were still a two-way school. But it was a huge area that we drew our students from. And now, when I was coaching and when I was athletic director, one year you may have a freshman. I know when Green Hope opened, or when Panther Creek opened, we had a great group of JV ball players. Well, we lost starting 5. One was on the varsity. We lost him to Panther Creek, and we lost a big portion of that group that went to Panther Creek, and they played in the state championship a few years later. Great team, but what it changed with the dynamics of where you went to school. One year, I know the whole time I was here, we lost athletes to Apex. Every 3 or 4 years, they were sending this group to Apex, or this group to Holly Springs, or this group to Middle Creek, or this group over to, Athens Drive. So it really changed the dynamics that I grew up with. The kids in junior high a lot of them didn't know where they were going to high school when they first went to, if they went to East Cary. They may end up at Athens Drive, they may end up at Apex, they may end up, who knows where. So that really, I think that was the biggest thing that's changed over the years. The rivalry, as far as the intensity of the people. Like I said, when I grew up and went to the barbershop or went downtown to Ashworth or somewhere, it really, you knew everybody there and they knew you. But now with the size, my graduating class had around 250, 260. They graduate 500 kids. They're twice as big now. And we were growing at that time. We went from 2A to 3A. It's really totally different as far as the size of the school.
Someone who's moving into this area, who, maybe they're an athlete here at Cary High School, but they're not from here. They don't have family ties here. How would you explain the importance of Apex Cary to them?
Well, I'm sure people moving in, the adults moving in, they're going to look at areas close to the school or what the school has to offer. Both schools are great schools, educationally. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we're better than they are. We offer a lot of things. They offer a lot of things. I think our history, in recent years, the history of their athletic program has been very, very good. And the history of ours has been very good. Some sports are better than others, and same thing with them. And that's true. But both schools offer a lot. I think we offer a lot of tradition. This facility has been here. It is the second oldest physical facility in Wake County behind Broughton. So it's been here a long time. There's been some, I know out at Wake Forest, they've had renovations. We've had a few renovations, but this is the same gym. This was built in 1961. It's still here. And it may be the oldest, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Broughton gym was built a little bit later than this one, I think. Holiday Gym at Broughton was built after this one was built. So this is probably the oldest gym in Wake County, if I'm not mistaken. So it means a lot. A lot of tradition.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about Cary-Apex? Is there anything about Cary-Apex I have not asked that I should have asked?
No, it's just, I know when I was younger, when I was in 8th and 9th grade, it was a very intense rivalry with Apex. It was probably a lot more intense then than when I came along. People had, there were some fights broke out after the games or during the games when I was real young, but we never had that problem when I was a sophomore, junior when we played them. Not since then. I mean, there's been some bad feelings. I've been times when maybe one school felt like the other school ran up the score on them. I know I felt that way one time, and I'm sure they felt the same way. So, but no, not really.